$9.50. That's what a Brisbane mum paid last week for a box of natural muesli that packs more sugar per serve than a Tim Tam. And she's not alone. Up to 80% of muesli on Australian supermarket shelves is hiding added sugars, seed oils, or worse. We've ranked the 10 worst offenders sitting right now in Woolworths, Coles, Aldi, and IGA. Starting at number 10, a brand your family probably trusts. In the 10th place, Uncle Toby's traditional oats muesli sits on Coles and Woolworths shelves for around $4.50, wearing that wholesome whole grain halo Australians grew up trusting. But here is the dirty secret. The pack's nutrition panel lists only 3.8 grams of sugar per 100 grams. Then you realize the serving size is a minuscule 30 grams. That is less than a third of a normal bowl, and it is a classic industry trick to make the numbers look better. Do the real maths and the sugar load per actual breakfast serve can double. Nestle has owned Uncle Toby's since 2006, quietly shifting the brand from local icon to a global processed food playbook. Ingredient order rules mean sugar is listed after the grains, but it is still added cane sugar, not just what is found in oats. Even the so-called healthiest option on the shelf plays games with the numbers, setting the stage for even sweeter and more deceptive brands to come. Number 9, Coles brand Swiss style muesli sits on the shelf at $3.90 and wears that classic Swiss badge. But don't let the Euro branding fool you. This is Coles' own home brand, and the ingredient list is a warning sign for anyone who actually reads it. The label claims honey and brown sugar, but both are listed well before the oats finish, and the total sugar lands at 7.2 grams per 100 grams, almost double some so-called healthy competitors. That's 2 sweeteners split across the panel, a textbook sugar splitting move that keeps each one under the radar. Then there's the oil, sunflower, plus an unnamed vegetable oil blend. No one at Coles will tell you what's really in that bottle, and the supplier is buried behind house brand contracts. For families watching their sugar or trying to avoid seed oils, this is a trap hiding in plain sight. You pay less, but you're buying a bowl full of cut corners and corporate opacity. If you're trusting the Coles brand to protect your health, you're being played. In 8th place, Woolworths Essentials Muesli comes in at just $2.80, making it the cheapest bag on the shelf. Do not mistake that bargain for health. Here is the dirty secret. The low price is built on a formula that leans heavily on canola oil and cane sugar, not the whole grain ingredients you would hope for. Flip the pack and you will see canola oil listed high. That is a cost-cutting move that keeps saturated fat low, but it loads the product with omega-6 fatty acids, something nutritionists warn about when eaten in excess. Sugar sits at 6.5 grams per 100 grams, which might sound moderate, but remember, that is pure added cane sugar, not fruit. For shoppers comparing sunflower to canola, this is the classic value trade-off. You save $1, but you are feeding your family industrial seed oil and cheap sweetener. I have bought this more than once for the budget, but every time the aftertaste is disappointment. The industry banks on you seeing whole grain and missing the fine print. If you are reaching for the lowest price, you are paying in ways that do not show up at the checkout. Number 7. Carmen's Original Fruit Muesli sits at $3.40 on the Coles shelf, wrapped in a wholesome, fruit-filled promise. But here is the dirty secret. This is the first product in the countdown to break the near double-digit sugar barrier, clocking in at 9.8 grams per 100 grams. That is not just from the dried apricots, raisins, and cranberries. There is honey and brown sugar added in, both listed among the top sweeteners. The industry loves to hide behind the natural fruit halo, but the nutrition panel does not split out how much of that sugar comes from fruit versus what is poured in at the factory. It is a classic sugar smokescreen. You will see honey and brown sugar on the ingredient close up, but the front of the pack keeps the focus on fruit and fiber. For anyone watching blood sugar, this is a trap, especially if you are feeding it to kids. The price might look fair, but you are getting a bowl full of sugar dressed up as health food. The outrage here is real. This is the highest sugar density so far, and it is only getting worse from here. Number 6. Kellogg's Just Right is a masterclass in sugar splitting, all while claiming to be a low sugar option on the supermarket shelf for $4.20. Here is the dirty secret. The nutrition panel lists just 5.4 grams of sugar per 100 grams. But look closer at the ingredients. Honey and brown sugar both appear, each in small enough amounts to dodge the front of pack high sugar warning. This is textbook sugar splitting. Separate sweeteners listed. So no single one breaks the threshold. A loophole allowed under food standards, Australia-New Zealand rules, and flagged by consumer advocates. An expert in food labeling once told me, if you see 2 or more sugars on the list, you are being played. That is exactly what is happening here. The front of the box pushes wholesome grains, but the real story is buried in the fine print. With the price tag and supermarket placement, it is easy to fall for the promise. For families trying to cut back on sugar, this is a trap, moderate on paper, but deceptive by design. Watch out for these split sugars. They are the industry's favorite trick, and the next brand only gets sneakier. Number 5. Sanitarium Light and Tasty sits on supermarket shelves for $3.70, flashing that light promise right on the front. But here is the dirty secret. Buried in the ingredients is glucose syrup, an industrial sweetener that spikes blood sugar faster than plain table sugar. Glucose syrup is not just another name for sugar. It is a refined syrup made by breaking down starches in a factory, and it is a red flag in the world of ultra-processed foods. The pack claims just 8.1 grams of sugar per 100 grams. But when you factor in the syrup's impact on your glycemic load, it is a metabolic ambush, especially for anyone watching their weight or blood sugar. On the Nova scale, that refined syrup pushes this cereal straight into the ultra-processed category. I have had viewers write in about stale taste and odd aftertastes, which is no surprise given the ingredient list. Sanitarium banks on its healthy reputation, But the reality is a bowl full of processed sugars dressed up as diet food. If you thought light meant safe, think again. Number 4. Aldi Harvest Morn Swiss Muesli claims to deliver that hearty, traditional breakfast for just $3.20. But here is the dirty secret. The real cost is in the bag, not on the sticker. This is one of the only mueslis on the Australian shelf built around a blend of sunflower and rapeseed oils. A combo that is cheap for the factory, but bad news for freshness. I bought this 3 times, and twice the nuts were stale. One batch was so rancid, I sent it to a food lab for peroxide testing. That is how you catch spoiled oils, and the numbers were off the charts. Aldi's catalog cereals can sit in storage for months, and with mixed oils, the risk of oxidized, bitter nuts goes way up. The label admits to 7 grams of sugar per 100 grams, but it is the taste of old oil that really lingers. If you care about what your family eats, do not be fooled by the Swiss branding or the low price. This is a freshness gamble, and Aldi is betting you will not notice until it is too late. Number 3. Lowen Natural Muesli sits on the IGA shelf for $4.80, wearing that local and natural badge that makes shoppers drop their guard. But here is the dirty secret. The nutrition panel shows 6.2 grams of sugar per 100 grams, about the same as a Tim Tam, and that is before you add milk or fruit. The ingredient list looks simple until you spot honey and brown sugar right after the grains, and sunflower oil tucked in early. That is not a drizzle for taste. It is a cost cutter that bumps up calories and omega-6 fatty acids, the kind linked to inflammation when eaten daily. The label says sourced from multiple countries, but you will never know where the oats or fruit really come from. I have scoured the pack for a sourcing statement and found nothing. For a brand that leans hard on regional trust, this is a transparency fail. If you are buying Lowen for the natural promise, you are being ripped off by hidden sugars and oils hiding in plain sight. Coming to the top 2, Uncle Toby's Plus Antioxidant Lift commands a premium shelf spot at $5.50, parading its vitamins C and E fortification like a badge of honor. But here is the dirty secret. This so-called antioxidant lift is a science wash, using a sprinkle of vitamins to distract from a sugar bomb. 8.4 grams of sugar per 100 grams. That is almost as much sugar as a Tim Tam, and the ingredient list splits it across honey, brown sugar, fruit, and even maltodextrin. So no single sweetener dominates the label. Nestle, the global giant behind Uncle Toby's, knows exactly how to play the game. Load up on sugar, then slap on a FSANZ approved antioxidant claim to win your trust. The pack shouts about cell protection, but the real damage is in the bowl, high sugar, industrial seed oils, and a health halo that does not stand up to scrutiny. If you're reaching for this thinking you're making a smart choice for your family, you're being ripped off by the world's biggest processed food machine. The outrage here is not just the sugar, it is the way science gets twisted to sell you a lie. And finally, in first place, B Natural 5 Whole Grain Flakes. Muesli is the worst offender, hiding behind a wholesome front. Woolworths and Coles sell this for $8.50 a box, plastered with whole grain and natural in bold letters. But here is the dirty secret. Brown sugar is the third ingredient, and sunflower oil is right behind the dried fruit. The nutrition panel claims just 4.3 grams of sugar per 100 grams. But independent testing shows the real-world figure can double once you factor in how people actually eat it. Kellanova, formerly Kellogg's, owns the brand, and they know exactly how to play the sugar-splitting game, with honey, golden syrup, and brown sugar, each listed separately to avoid the high sugar warning. The natural claim is legally meaningless in Australia. It lets them sell you a bowl of added sugar and refined oil dressed up as a health food. If you have trusted the branding or paid a premium thinking you were doing the right thing for your family, you have been ripped off by a multinational that banks on shoppers not reading past the label. This is the ultimate credibility gap, the lowest sugar on paper, but the biggest mismatch between promise and reality. Australians deserve better. Across all 10 brands, here is the dirty secret. Marketing beats ingredients every time. The industry banks on busy Aussies trusting health claims, not labels. Independent testing shows you are being ripped off at breakfast. It is time we demand honesty. Every Australian deserves better on their table. Drop your thoughts below.